Види, под социјално претприемништво се подразбира грижа за заедницата на некаков начин дека предпријатието се грижи за заедницата.
Social entrepreneurship means caring for the community in some way, in a way that the company cares about the community. Caring for the community means social aspects. It means for marginalized groups, young, talented helps them to study, means everything that deals socially with some marginalized groups in which the company does not have to directly employ them, but there should be some ways which helps the community. Furthermore, social protection includes some cultural heritage, life, tradition and so on. In some way the company would protect those values. After all, it also includes environmental issues and environmental concerns.
Вредности. После тука влегува исто така сега во последно време и еколошки прашања, грижа за животната средина.
Социјалното предпријатие кажавме дека има пазарна ориентација, тоа нуди добра и услуги на пазарот на предприемачки иновативен начин, со тоа што го употребува стандардниот профит со цел
The social enterprise has a market orientation. It offers goods and services to the market in an entrepreneurial, innovative way, by using the gained profit to achieve social impact. So we see that there is a profit distribution, but that is not the only key aspect when we talk about this type of business model. One of the important aspects of social enterprises is the management itself, which should include in a responsible, accountable, transparent, inclusive way employees and consumers, all those parties that are affected by the commercial activities of this legal form. Green entrepreneurship operates within the green economy, which is defined as a low-carbon economy, an economy that is efficient in the use and reuse of resources and which is efficient and promotes social inclusion. We see, in essence, that both models overlap with what I will share with the broader definition that says that in a green economy, employment and income growth are driven by public and private investment in economic activities, infrastructure and assets that enable reduced carbon emissions and pollution, high energy and resource efficiency, and prevention of biodiversity loss in the ecosystem.
Еве таа нота од С до Ц. Гледаме дека во суштина се кажува исто, со тоа што во оваа проширена, преместена дефиниција за зелената економија многу јасно ни се посочени сите оние можни болни точки и предизвици на бизнес моделите кои
социјално предприемништво, не како Стопанска комора за мал бизнес, да кажам со само.
We, as the Chamber of Commerce of Small Business with Entrepreneurship, have really great experience in supporting commercial enterprises, but above all small enterprises. Social entrepreneurship should also apply to entrepreneurial enterprises. Everyone defines the suffix socially in their own way. There are different definitions. The project I mentioned puts a definition that social enterprises are those in which people who are socially endangered would work primarily.
Сметаме дека најмалите и микропредпријатија се на еден начин социјални предпријатија затоа што тие воопшто не остваруваат профит и да создаваат капитал. Така да у принцип сите за тие социјални предпријатија
председател на Сдружение на граѓани Ековита од Неготино. Активности кои може да се сметат како основа за социјално
Sashdo Todorov, president of the Association of Citizens Ekovita from Negotino, which has activities that can be considered as a basis for social entrepreneurship, but unfortunately from the experience so far, the legal norm has not been adopted in Macedonia, and all that is done is just an imitation of social entrepreneurship. One project was our training for growing mushrooms, and our partner was the prison in Bitala. Our goal was to re-socialize the young prisoners who were serving their prison sentences. The prison is a specific institution that is punishable but also has a correctional role. We got involved in the correctional part to educate the prisoners. In a conversation with the director, he told us that there are many returnees who cannot cope in the real world, are marked by the surrounding world and cannot engage in current economic activities and commit crimes again and return to prison. So they cannot be found in the real world.
И повторно се враќаат во затвор, значи не може да се најдат во реалниот свет. А тоа се однесува на производство на паразитоидни оси кои што вршат уништување на штетни инсекти муви на вооружените села.
Another project concerns the production of parasitoid wasps that destroy harmful insects, flies, in rural villages. We have a large number of cases of infectious diseases transmitted by the fly, so the problem is how to destroy the fly. Sanitary services use only chemicals, insecticides that kill flies, but also beneficial insects and cause further damage to the food chain. So our idea is to produce indigenous species of fly parasites. We found them. They are small axils about 1 millimeter in size. We are growing them now. We are working on the Anasi project, which is located at Fiat. This is one of the 6 projects funded by Anasi 2020. So our goal is to produce axes in a huge number, indigenous, which are found in Nigatina and everywhere in the world, which we let where needed, where there is an infestation of flies, and they themselves find hotspots of flies and destroy them. So in a natural way, ecologically, without using insecticides, we want to create a natural balance that exists in nature before man can perform his activities. The appearance of these harmful insects occurs from human activities, so there are many farms where they do not throw garbage. There are no good practices in the village, and unfortunately in these villages there are often open septic tanks which further endangers the lives of villagers, and we want this way, in a biological, natural way, to help nature create a natural balance. This is not about genetically modified organisms but organisms that exist in nature. We multiply them in a laboratory way and let them go back.
Организми кои што постојат во природата, ние ги лабораториски начин ги умножуваме и ги пуштаме, враќаме назад
во дирекција за заштита и спасување. И баш на мерката на епидемии, епифитоти, епизоти, на еден начин...
I work in the Directorate for Protection and Rescue and exactly the measure epidemics, epiphytes, epizootics, directly related to this. You may have heard about the problem with the pine pest. An insect that attacks the pines in Macedonia, the pine forest, a very serious problem. One year I try to clarify that there is a natural biological way of controlling these pests. As you mentioned, but with us in the institutions themselves are very skeptical about it. You know, it is easier to fill a helicopter or plane with a certain chemical and to spray, but the damage and consequences are very big. This way you explained is, I think, the best way that can be used.
Големи, овој начин вие што го појаснивте, мислам дека најдобриот начин што може да се користи за овие настани.
Македонија било познато само некаде до почетокот на 20 век по одгледување на свилени буби.
Да.
Малдене секоја куќа свилени буби одгледувала. Затоа
Macedonia was a breeding ground for silkworms until the beginning of the 20th century. Almost every house raised silkworms. That is why mulberries grow throughout Macedonia. Do you know what mulberries are? I managed 2 in the spring. Do you feed them mulberry leaves?
Yes, with mulberry, but now they are hibernating and I am waiting for next spring to see if any live eggs remain so I can. I focused all this work on making student projects. I let the children from Nigatina participate in competitions and won awards. I think they were pleased to promote an interesting idea that was once attractive. Aroused interest in children, and I gave it to teachers in Nigatina to see what the path of silk from egg to doll looks like.
Кај децата предизвика интерес. Дадов на професори кај нас во Неготино да видат како оди патот на свилата од јајце до кукла.
Една многу интересна информација, сигурно сте слушнале за серапептазата.
One very interesting piece of information. You must have heard of peripetus. It is an enzyme obtained from the digestive system that is isolated from microorganisms in the silkworm. What is that enzyme used for? Is very widely used for medical purposes.
Значи за медицински цели, значи во сите делови.
Проект за одржлива реинтеграција на бездомниците.
Sustainable reintegration project for the homeless with biohumus bioproduction training.
I attended trainings on how the civil sector works and no one could give me a precise answer about what happens between two projects. So a project ends that can have 100,000, 100 million euros, but at the end of the day, what if there is a break of 3, 6, 12 months? If we are dealing with something else, maybe I can understand that we need to be patient, that we need to finish the homework, to apply. But if someone decides to deal with human destinies and help marginalized people, a dose of absolutely needed predictability. From here we absolutely agreed that one of the basic priorities should be the development of several models of social entrepreneurship in order to ensure the necessary stability, and to be able to financially, independently provide all sources of income and from here on to develop everything further. COVID's crisis shows that it simply cannot be left to play only one card. We must have several different models that will give us in such moments of crisis to provide the necessary dose of predictability.
Да едноставно си обезбедиме таа неопходна доза на предвидливост.
Дипломиран електротехнички инженер сум. Постдипломски студии во микросум, за жал се уште не ми е дадена магистратурата, малце некои работи кај мене се променија во последните неколку години, така што од прилика
When I was traveling around the world, I visited 26 countries and saw a lot of things, and I will reflect on some of that here. I would like to share. I am 44 years old. I have a degree in electrical engineering. Postgraduate studies unfortunately have not been completed yet. I run an organization for electric vehicles, and the purpose of this address was light electric vehicles, bicycles, tricycles and so on. What has been achieved is only with money from our members. So we owe nothing to anyone and we can say what we want, so we act that way. In that sense, the compromise with the donors in the non-governmental sector, which I do not want to equate, is defeating for me. It is simply better to go with activist energy and so on. We work with drones, light aircraft, robotic arms, gyroscopic autonomous modular vehicles, mobile water platforms, mechanical platforms, electric motors, battery models, 3D printers, parallelograms, Rubik's cubes, spheres, wings, geometric drones, unmanned drones, circulating in the air, swarms, picoelectric motors for wind and water, steel chassis, aluminum profiles, carbon fiber, plexiglass workshops, tools, construction, self-construction, production of Lego blocks, a fantastic opportunity for Macedonia to develop light vehicles in small workshops with few engineers. There is a chance for businesses in Macedonia to look at about 20,000 mopeds, so one transition would be nice if they became electric. To go with a strategy of 50,000. But with COVID we saw that they would need those autocentric transport solutions to reject and go for light vehicles, which means that a strategy of 50 to 100,000 vehicles would give a lot to say developing local businesses from here. It's a message for everyone who thinks in that sense. There is a lot to express here, a lot to do. You can involve different parties, faculties, students and so on. So that's something we're proposing. We had a workshop for 3D printing, students came, a lecturer, then a workshop in Kovačice with a colleague of ours who developed specialized vehicles for people with disabilities and so on. So we think that a lot of focus should be given to light vehicles in a wide range, not only for personal use but also for small productions.
Работилица во Кавадарци кај наш колега кој што развива специјализирани возила за велосипеди за луѓето така натаму. Така што сметаме дека сега треба да се даде голем фокус на лесните возила во широк спектар, не само за лична употреба, туку и за мали производства, па и
енергетика друга е супер, ама едно не одговара за во нашава држава, тоа е што
The idea of an energy cooperative is great, but it does not suit our country because the energy cooperative should be owned by the local community. So all this brings with it many questions and challenges. What in our country ordinary cooperative no longer works. Cooperatives, although they have great support, but the fact that we do not trust each other to establish something that will generate income for all of us. Otherwise, energy cooperatives are really a great contribution in the fight against climate change, but in our country so far there is not a single energy cooperative. And in the region we already have them in Croatia, Serbia and Greece with very positive results. And otherwise, even though we are a country with many sunny days, here we are. Strange and true, even though there were initiatives, there is still no realization of having an energy cooperative.
Иницијативи сепак немало реализација да има енергетска задруга.
There are now more than 6,000 of UREMs in about 30 countries around the world. About 70 training providers and about 800 trainers or energy experts are behind this strong and energetic network.
About 170 projects running at the moment, and UREM is one of them. But it's not any of them. It's a unique project.
The Association for Energy Efficiency OIREM MK is a platform for association of energy experts for the purpose of joint development or participation in projects of public interest. Energy managers in their projects shows vision of social enterprise, SE, activity in renewable energy, RE. Many SEs embrace both social and environmental values, which they are likely to express through a range of good management practices such as recycling, reducing energy use or using green energy where possible. Development of RE may also be a way to tackle fuel poverty, a growing social problem. There are a number of SEs whose activities are relatively energy intensive, for example those using a significant amounts of energy in transportation, processing or heating, and or whose activities produce waste or co-products which can be converted to energy, for example energy from waste. Unlike traditional utilities, energy services companies, ESCOs, do not sell electricity or energy. Instead they develop, install, and finance projects designed to improve the energy efficiency, carbon emissions reductions and maintenance costs for facilities over a longer period of time. There is scope for socio-technical innovations and reutilization where certain models of SEs may have a comparative advantage over private enterprises. This is for example the case with RE systems which link together energy producers and consumers in mutual interdependence. The superior moral capital of SEs and their strong embeddedness in the local community, social capital, provides them with a competitive advantage with regards to trust so that they can build the necessary coalition or partnership to operationalize the RE system.